What is good, everyone? Rating the Kingdom, episode 149. It's our 2024 NFL Combine preview. Coach and I are here tonight on the eve of the NFL Combine. Yep, check out the Rating the Kingdom hoodies.
Rating the Kingdom hoodies, man.
I dropped a link in the chat from our boy DC Pearl Custom Tees if you want to get your own. I suggest getting a size bigger. This is a medium, and it's a little bit tight.
But tight. The large is a little tight on me, too.
Yeah, so maybe that'll be our recommendation is to go.
I'm digging the Arrowhead West in the back, though. Looks good.
So it says Allegiant Stadium in the back.
Arrowhead West. That's what your head's blocking it. So all I see is stadium. So I'm seeing Arrowhead West Stadium.
No, but I saw that lovely rendition that Clark Hunt released of your new Arrowhead Stadium that doesn't have a dome, which makes a ton of sense because it's always freezing there.
It's football, weather, buddy. We're not.
Yeah, I mean, if you go with the advantage, or that's the advantage for you, then go for it.
Yeah, we'll just keep coming to Vegas to win Super Bowls. It's fine.
Knock it off. That's done. That's not happening again.
Okay. All right.
So where we're at now, this is a super exciting time. We're finally kind of done with the regular season chatter. I know Coach could have gone on the last season for months because he won the Super Bowl. I, of course, am ready to get
at your stadium. Yep.
You're just making me sad right off the rip.
I know.
We're starting the off-season stuff, but you are a draft guy. This is your time, Coach. Your time to shine. Coach is currently working on our RTK top 50 draft board, so that's going to have our top 50 guys. I'm going to kind of leave it up to Coach unless he does something egregious. Then I'll have to step in. That's for another episode. So
yeah, that's going to be in the future here. Obviously, we have to kind of do our see the combine, see the results, and then we'll kind of go from there. Most people can pretty much pick out the top 5 without necessarily having to do the combine. But, we're going to do 50, right? So we need to have a little bit more research into it.
Exactly. So the combine's going down right now in Indianapolis. As I mentioned in the last episode, Coach and I could have been there, scheduling issue on my part, some work stuff. But I just threw the schedule up on the screen real quick for you there. If you look on with your tiny eyes, right now we're on Wednesday, February 28th. And Thursday, the first on-field workout begins. That's the D-line. And then it kind of trickles down where we got the defensive backs and the tight ends on Friday, running backs, quarterbacks, and wideouts on Saturday. And then the following day, the offensive line, they're going to go later on. And then Coach is going to take over for 1 minute as I address child issue. I'll be right back. Coach, talk to people.
The good thing about at the coach's house is there is no kids to deal with. So we each picked a group of players that we wanted to pay special attention to. These are all guys that we believe our teams can get. So I am going to start that off now. Chiefs, as we know, we're obviously picking at the end of the first round. Just to catch you up, I let them all know that we picked 3 players that we wanted to pay special attention to and that we think our teams have a good chance of potentially getting. That could be a fit for our teams, correct? So for me, I am going to start it off with Troy Franklin, a wide receiver from Oregon. He's a junior, redshirt junior, big guy. He's 6'3", 187. Probably will put on, I would imagine he's probably going to come in weighing a little bit more than that 187 that he ended the season with out there in Oregon. But he had 81 receptions. He had 1,383 yards and 14 touchdowns. He's got game-breaking speed. When he gets in the open field, there's going to be some clips posted of him that when he gets loose, man, he's gone. He reminds me of a lot.
If you like, Coach, I can share it right now. Let the people
share
take a look
a clip of Mr. Franklin. Yeah.
Here we go. Troy Franklin. This is Coach's number 1 guy right now.
Over to take this position, getting to work with Nicks. This pass, beautiful. And it's Troy Franklin. Look at that speed. Phil Knight has already signed him up. Track and field championships. This guy is a human blur. Watch him put
Coach Bill Snyder.
That's good knowledge.
There's a deep throw by Penix. Got a man. Lofts it in perfectly. It's caught. Streaking down the middle of the field and in for a.
Did you hear anything I was just saying about those videos?
Nope, you were muted. You got to unmute
I was
yourself
muted.
now.
I was muted. All right. So pretty much what I was saying in those videos is just how he has game-breaking speed, especially when he gets into the open field. He reminds me a lot of a DK Metcalf in just
Oh, that's
his
a good comp.
size.
Yeah.
His size, his ability. Like I said, he's got that game-breaking speed. Just having a big wideout, and I think he'll come in, like I said, a little bit heavier. You want to put on a little bit more muscle, a little bit more weight, because obviously playing in the NFL is a lot different than playing the Pac-12. But was just always a really solid contributor for Oregon. Kane was a 4-star recruit, kind of lived up to the hype. And he's just tall, lean, and strong. And like I said, I think he'd be a great fit for Kansas City. There's obviously wide receivers like, I would love them to get Marvin Harrison Jr. or Nabers or Ramon Ndunzier, but those guys are not logistically going to happen for the Chiefs. So I think in the second tier receivers, there's like your Ladd McConskey's and your Keon Coleman's and a lot of guys like that have, I believe, the ability to potentially go in that position. But in my eyes, I like Franklin the best out of those second tier wide receivers. So my next guy, which I think I will always try and do. I think not this past draft, but the draft before, when Travis Jones went to the Baltimore Ravens in the second round. I was all about him. D tackle. He's from the University of Connecticut. Me and Brendan both from Connecticut, so I have I got to rep the state. So I had to go with Christian Haynes. He's a guard out of UConn. Real solid dude. He back-to-back All-Americans. He's one of the first UConn players to do that. He came in as a 2-star recruit and built himself up. He's a big guy. He's 6'2", 318. Really solid. A lot of, experts say that he's probably the best guard in the draft. And I feel like with the Chiefs, especially with Joe Thuney getting older and his injury issue, and then Trey Smith too, we're going to have to pay him soon as well. And having a guy that can swing to both guard positions and potentially play tackle in a, kind of a, emergency situation is ideal. He just has some of the, looking at the comps and what some other people have said, he has a great feel for the game. He's an excellent run blocker, which is obviously important. Is solid in the pass game as well. So just a really well-rounded, very solid guard that will, I think, translate very well into the NFL. He's a hungry dude. When these guys, I think, come in, you're JJ Watt. JJ Watt was a 2-star recruit, right? These ratings have there's some validity to them, but if you're a hungry guy, like I know Haynes is, he's 6'2", 318, so I'm sure he's normally hungry. But what I mean in that is that he's going to continue to improve, coming as a 2-star to a team like Connecticut, who's not necessarily known as not a football powerhouse by any means, but developed into a very solid player for them. He was a leader on the team, and actually could have gone to the draft last year, but came back and was an All-American again. So awesome on Mr. Haynes, and that'd be awesome to see him in a Kansas City uniform. Now, the last guy I got is
Coach. I got a little clip of Mr. Haynes even for those.
All right,
those O-line guys. Hungry dude looking for work. I love it.
Hungry dude looking for work. And UConn didn't have a quarterback. They didn't really have, Victor Rosa was about our only offensive threat. And so he didn't have a lot to work with, but he did the best. He did the best he could. So now for my last guy is Tavondre Sweat, defensive tackle from Texas. And this is a bit, he's a beast. He is a massive human being. 6'4", 362. He loves that Texas barbecue and that Whataburger, man. I can eat a lot too, but that dude would absolutely demolish me. He's an elite run stuffer. Obviously, if you're 6'4", 362 and you're not an elite run stuffer, there's an issue there. So with that size, most offensive linemen are going to have trouble containing that dude on one-on-one situations, right? He was double teamed a lot in college and still was able to make some plays. His numbers are not insane, right? He had 2 sacks last year. He had 18 solo tackles, but he disrupted a lot. You know what I mean? Sometimes those stats don't necessarily coincide with the impact that the guy has. He's got a great football IQ. Believe it or not, for his size, he's very athletic. So he's a guy that, the more weapons we can have on defense for Steve Spagnuolo, the better. Ultimately, I think Chris Jones comes back.
Hopefully
But having a guy like Devondre Sweat there with him may be a scary situation. So, we'll see if any of these guys end up in Kansas City. But those are 3 guys that I wouldn't mind seeing Brett Veach and the Chiefs try and bring in to help go for this 3-peat.
And I just saw Sweat said he's going to weigh in at 365, and he's going to participate in every event at the combine. And he said that everyone's going to be shocked when they see the 40. So I don't know what he hasn't projected an actual time, but he says we're going to be shocked.
So that'll be fun to see. Sometimes when you get to see the big boys run, it's fun and it's comical. And you're like, wait, that dude probably just ran faster than me. So
right. Who was it? Tristan Wirfs had like a ridiculous 40 time.
Yeah. The tackle for the Bucks. Yeah. Iowa guy and just an athletic freak. That dude could like jump out of a pool from standing from a pool. So yeah, and he's a wrestler too. So he's a mutant.
Oh, and I got your Devondre Sweat clips there for you.
Drop
it. Here you go.
Collins pulls him to the ground. So it's first down and 20. Brooks in 2.5 last week against Houston. All-America a year ago. Slovis in trouble and down he goes in the backfield. Devondre Sweat gobbles him up. All throughout the day. Devondre Sweat, all 360-plus pounds of it. And Kansas State. Oklahoma State loses. Could be a rematch of what we saw in Dallas back in October. And trying to run Brooks.
Howard runs it. Howard. No! He won't
Nothing.
Yeah, so Sweat reminds me a little bit of a Devontae Poe, who was another former Chief. Just a big guy, athletic, and a good run stopper. Are you going to do yours and then we're going to do my sleeper pick, or do you want me to do my sleeper now?
Let's do because Coach will have his sleeper pick and I will have my most disappointing that they're not competing pick. It used to be who I thought was going to have the best combine, and then they pulled the rug out from under me, so we switched the title there. I did have a question on who was your comp for Christian Haynes? Did he have one?
Christian Haynes.
Any pro comps that you thought?
Yeah, sometimes I feel like it's easier like a defensive player or a D lineman or D end. Offensive lineman, we just don't necessarily think about all that much as far as comps go. To be honest, I don't. I think he could be, let's see here. I think he could probably be Joe Tooney-esque. I'll just use that because that's someone that I'm familiar with just in his build. And, Joe Tooney wasn't a high draft pick. He was developed and continued to get better. He went to New England and got consistently better. And I think that'll be the same thing with Mr. Haynes. I think he'll continue to get better because that's what he's done since he's got to UConn. He's still young. He'll get stronger. He'll get better. And so, yeah, I'll just throw Joe Tooney. That's a familiar name. So we'll just go with that.
That's fair. When you mentioned Troy Franklin, I hadn't looked a ton up on him. I was kind of, keeping my eye on kind of the bigger wide receivers. So I think at least one of them might go to the Chargers. So that's not ideal for any AFC West fans here. So I'm hoping Marvin Harrison and Nabers and Romo Dunze are who I heard Chris Sims pronounce as Romeo Dunze. This is the season of mispronounced names of the combine and the draft.
Yeah, that's only my job.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, he got you on that. Romeo Dunze. Not so everyone out there, not his name. It's Rome Odunze. There's a break there, and then the O is part of the last name. So we'll work on that for the future. But yeah, so once I saw the Troy Franklin footage, I thought he almost looks like a more fluid runner than DK. But big target, big size. Like he would never be a Giants wide receiver because he's over 5'10". So he's just a massive specimen, and I would really hate it if he went to Kansas City. So I just want to put that out there after watching that 51 seconds of Troy Franklin. I don't want any part of that in the AFC West. So hopefully he goes elsewhere, and you guys just go with like a punter or something, and with a 30-second pick. That'd be great.
We got the punt god.
Punt god. And I'm not ignoring anyone. I'm actively monitoring because the news about the Justin Fields move is possibly going to drop tonight. So I've been waiting for, as we said in the last podcast, I think a lot of the moves we're going to see will come once the Bears make their decision. And if Justin Fields is gone, then I have zero doubts they're going to pick Caleb Williams.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it looks like Justin Fields potentially could be going. The betting favorite is Atlanta, which I think would be cool for the Bears to do because that's where he's from, and he could go home and lead a very young, good, not good, but I mean the potential to be good if they get a decent quarterback in Atlanta as well.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
And the Chiefs obviously tag Snead, so that's good. We're depending on, we'll see if he'll re-sign or if he gets traded, but Chris Jones is a priority. That's Stone Cold. Chris Jones is a priority.
Hey,
so
he's a priority for us too.
Yeah. Funny. He won't go to the, he won't go to you.
No.
He goes to you. Like I said, I will buy you a Chris Jones Raiders jersey if he ends up a Raider.
Well, you got to pay for my Jayden Daniels one first, so we'll get to that in a little bit. So I'm going to go. So obviously, but what we're looking at right now is, so the D line is going today. There's a lot of chatter around that position group, and it's interesting because they seem to be the opposite of a lot of the quarterbacks and the receivers. They all seem really hungry to get on the field in Indianapolis and compete in all of the position drills, whereas we have our top three quarterbacks who are seemingly going to participate in nothing besides the interviews and the measurables, and I think that's it. So they're going to wait for their pro days. I would hope that we at least get something there. But yeah, so I'm going to go with three guys that I think could be on the Raiders' radar for different reasons. I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up. My first one is Blake Corum, running back from Michigan. He's 5'8", 214. So obviously on the shorter side, he's not like Jaquiz. What was his name? Jaquiz Rogers from Tampa Bay. Really, Jaquiz.
Yeah.
Are you the
5'5" guy that got drafted by the Cowboys?
Yes, whose dad is a running backs coach, or he's a coach of some sort for.
He was at Kansas State. Yeah, I can't think of his name.
Yeah, so he's not that tiny, but he's definitely down there a little bit. So his running back ranking fluctuates as far as the draft, the combine running back goes. I've seen him as high as like third or fourth, and I think I saw him at 9 on maybe it was PFF's ranking. He's definitely not up there with Jonathan Brooks, Texas running back who tore his ACL, who's not going to be participating at the combine. He might do interviews, I would assume, but nothing else. Corum's expected to run a 4.4. He's kind of noted as having kind of below average acceleration, average speed, third round projection. I think if he participates in the bench press, that might help because they're trying to say he doesn't have a lot of power, which obviously in the NFL, you have to be able to block as well as run the ball. He was the forefront of Michigan's success this year, which is great and all, but it's a completely different ballgame. And we've seen a lot of Michigan running backs not have much success in the pros. It's just a tough position to capitalize on. For his pro comp, I'm going to go with Khalil Herbert. If anyone recalls Mr. Herbert there, not a bad guy, decent. I think it's a nice comp for Blake Corum. He might not be that good. But here we'll take a quick look at
Zamir White together.
I've gone back and forth with Josh Jacobs. I have my own personal feelings on the guy. If the price is right, then keep Josh around maybe for another year or two. I know that the average for running backs is either a 1 or a 3-year deal. I think Zamir White really stepped up towards the end of the season. He looked good. He ran pretty good behind. Our offensive line isn't top tier, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's struggling. It's not the greatest area of need for next year. I think that's the quarterback position. So I don't actually think that Blake Corum is the guy I would particularly want them to go after. I just could see them going into a 3rd or 4th round to grab a running back instead of everybody wants, Jonathan Brooks or the kid from where's it, Illinois? I don't know. There's another running back that's up there. And
you got Trey Benson from Florida State. The dude from Notre Dame too. can't pronounce
the one
his
that
last name.
ran all over USC. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just don't think they're going to go with, like, they're going to use their second round pick on a running back. I'd be kind of surprised, but I could see Blake Corum being like a third round or even fourth round option for them to pick up. So here's a little snapshot of the little guy.
Corum with a hole down the sideline. Gonna get there. Blake the Great. Touchdown Wolverine. 30 yards.
Blake the Great. You hear that, Coach?
Stopping the
Blake
run
the
is
Great.
about being gap sound. Those guys have that gap. Now it's on Chop Robinson, number 44. He's got to have this gap, but he jumps outside of his gap and he leaves the seam.
So you see good vision, awareness, balance. He had a beautiful hole made for him by his O-line on that outside zone run right there. But you can see the lack of acceleration right there. It's not game-breaking speed. 4.4 is great. We'll see what he runs at the combine with his 4.4. So that's my first one, Blake Corum, running back, a possible option for the Raiders. I don't know if you had anything more on him.
I'm going to say one thing on Blake Corum. Obviously, integral part in Michigan winning the national championship this year. He essentially came back, I think, this year because I think there was talk that he could potentially get drafted last year, but he was going to make more money this year NIL-wise than he was going to make in the NFL. So I think Corum is a solid running back. I don't know if he's going to be your workhorse, but as we know, we need multiple running backs to make things work. Ultimately, I think he ends up a Charger, but I could see him in Vegas as well. I think Harbaugh will draft his son there.
I think we're going to see more than one Michigan man heading to LA.
Yeah, I would assume that probably would be a good chance of happening.
Yeah. So here's my second guy. I'll just play the clip.
Yeah. Penix from the pocket, spins free. Trying to mirror Cade Williams' creativity, launches the end zone, caught! No signal. Did he hold it?
Utah great at forcing third down and longs. Penix with a shot down the...
Michael Penix from Washington, the quarterback. So, 6'3", 214, big dude. The big thing everyone's going to look at is the medical. So he went to the Senior Bowl, really didn't make any splashes there, opted out of the game at the end of the week. I think it hurt him more than it helped him. He kind of needs a confident performance to change some people's minds, I think, at the combine. Throwing, a lot of it was his intermediate passes. Like, he's an accurate quarterback. He's got a good deep ball. The lefty thing, I don't know about that. But I could see the Raiders, there's all these plans about us trading up and doing this and doing that. I just don't know if it's necessarily going to happen. I don't know if he would be the guy for them, but I'm not a huge Bo Nix guy. If I had to pick between the two, I think I would still go Michael Penix. Raider Nation was clamoring for him leading up to the national championship. And after the national championship, this guy's garbage. He sucks. This isn't the guy. We don't need him, blah, blah, blah. Coach, you had a thought?
Okay, so I had a thought here. And now I like Penix. I think he's obviously solid. Two knee surgeries. Indiana transferred to Washington, obviously, and led them to kind of a great a magical season, if you want to call it that. But what is he ranked right now, quarterback wise? You got Caleb, Drake, Jayden, whatever order you want to put them in, and then are you putting Penix in front of JJ McCarthy, or?
I'm putting him in front of JJ McCarthy, and I'm putting him in front of Bo Nix. So he would be.
I think a lot of people are probably not going to agree with you on that. I think JJ McCarthy is someone who could have a really good. Is JJ? He's going to throw and do his thing at the combine, correct? As far as we know,
I think just the top three are the ones not participating.
Okay, so yeah, I think JJ McCarthy. He's not someone that I think he could have a very big. If it's between Penix and McCarthy, I think that could. Depending on
who do you like? Who do you like better, Penix or McCarthy?
It's tough to say, man. I like McCarthy better because he has just been healthier. He's lost 2 games at Michigan. I think that he can continue to get better. Penix, just the injury stuff is very. The knees are just. They have 2 knee surgeries too.
It's terrifying. And we took a defensive end with a broken foot last year, so why not go for a guy with a bad knee? Why not?
It's natural progression for the Raiders. But
right.
Yeah, if I had to choose, gun to head, I'm going to choose JJ.
And these aren't, as I said, I think you kind of went a little more with what was the exercise was who, you would want. And I think that these are obviously positions of need for the Raiders. And it's more like I could see them doing this and let Aiden O'Connell and Michael Penix compete. That's not what I want to see. And the medical thing is terrifying to me. They said he passed his medical, but I want to hear more from the combine when they check into it again. Our boy Aaron Jensen, Penix is solid, but injury prone. If Jayden's gone, take Bo. He's a tough player, embodies toughness. I agree with that. There's just certain flashes I see from Penix that, depending on how the offense is going to look under Luke Getsy, I think that he offers a pretty solid competitive advantage for us. But I'm not saying that Penix can do that either.
What about this? If you can't get Jayden, would you be opposed to trading down in some more picks and then going to get Bo Nix?
I wouldn't hate that. I'm not going to be shooting off fireworks if it's Bo Nix. I'm not going to be shooting off fireworks if it's anybody but Jayden Daniels, to be honest. But I wouldn't like it if they took any of those guys at 13. I think all of them are reach at 13 if it's not one of those.
Very much
three.
So.
And none of those guys are going to. So people talking about if you like your guy, you take him. I don't believe that. I think even if at 13, which I think they will be, Penix, Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy are all available, don't take any of them till the second round.
Yeah, that worked out really well for the Giants. So don't do that.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that strategy. Aaron, thank you for that comment there. So then we'll go with the last player who is essentially opted out of the combine as well. But this is my true number one, who I want the Raiders to select, who they need to select, who they need to trade the house for. He's going to be there and do interviews. Confirmed he has a meeting with the Raiders, which scared me for a minute because he wasn't initially listed as meeting with them. And people said, oh, well, he got his interview in the locker room at the Broncos game. Well, I want an official one. I want it on paper. I want it videotaped because there's almost
you want to
no
be a fly in the wall.
Oh, my God, what I would give to do that. So here's my boy, Jayden.
Florida drops into a zone. Daniels trying to run it.
Look at that.
Space. What a move. Jayden Daniels again. Jayden Daniels, touchdown LSU. 51 yards. 2nd and 2. Daniels going deep. Looking for touch. He's got Thomas. Down to the 10. Blitz again. Daniels stands tall. Going deep. End zone. Touchdown. Brian Thomas Jr.
Oh my goodness, Coach! I could watch it for days on days. So that's my boy Jayden Daniels, JD5 to Vegas. That's the campaign. That's the credo. That's the mantra. That's everything until April 26th, 25th. I don't know when we see what happens. But so he's 6'3", 6'4", 210 pounds. The frame is slight. We can't deny that. He's not Bryce Young slight, but he's just kind of a taller Bryce Young. So we don't have the concern about him not being able to see over the O-line like we had with Kyler Murray, but we are concerned about his measurables. That's one of the parts of the combine that is important, even though he's not going to be throwing. I wanted him to throw off that deep ball. People said he has a limited deep ball. You just saw him throwing 50-yard bombs. They're critical of his sideline passing and consistent throwing. His 40, we wanted to see if he was going to fly. All of that is out the window until his pro day. I don't know when the LSU pro day is. I don't know if anyone out there has done that much research into it. Pro comp, I'm going to shoot for the stars here. I'm going to say he's Lamar Jackson light, as our boy Field Yates says. Who would you comp him to, Coach?
I told you who I comped him to. To me, he reminds me of like a Geno Smith, Pat White combo.
I don't know if you mentioned Geno Smith before. I saw Jacoby
Brissett,
which I don't know how I felt about that.
Geno White.
Geno White. So I was disappointed. I understand Caleb Williams not doing anything. He's like the bona fide number one pick overall. But I was hoping that Jayden would put on a show and mainly just selfishly because I want to see more of him. But this is kind of the trend we're seeing at the combine. And, maybe he would have done so well that he would have gone up the charts a little bit more and taken that second quarterback position. Because right now I think he's sitting comfortably at third, but that's starting to fluctuate a bit between, him and Drake May. And while we're on that subject, at the last episode, you said that you think Drake May is going to be the most successful quarterback of the three: Jayden Daniels, Caleb Williams, and Drake May. You said Caleb Williams is, or not Caleb Williams. You said Drake May is going to be the most successful quarterback in the league, and then you left me high and dry.
Not in the league. Out of those three, Drake May is going to have the best career.
Yeah, in the NFL, he's going to have the best career in the NFL. So why do you think that?
His accuracy, his arm power, depending on where he goes. So I think there's a good chance that obviously the Bears draft Caleb Williams. You know, I've heard there's a lot of talk on the second pick. Will the Commanders go Jayden Daniels, or will they go with Sam Howell's former teammate Drake May? I think he just got it's honestly a gut feeling, man. I like the way he throws the ball. He seems calm, cool, and collected under pressure. Obviously, he didn't have many weapons last year in North Carolina like he did the year prior, where he had a great season. And most people thought he was going to be the number one pick. I just think he's got the right head. He's got the right mindset. Some of these other guys might have better athletic ability as far as like getting out of the pocket and running, but Drake May, just something about him just stands out, and I think he's very Joe Burrow-esque. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Speaks to you, huh? Joe Burrow-esque. That's a good one.
Joe Burrow-esque.
All right. Well, I mean, I can't argue with that. He was kind of the first guy I was looking at until I watched a little bit more of Jayden.
So, hypothetical here: the Raiders trade up, they get Jayden Daniels. Are you going to have a high-pitched scream when that happens, when we're in the draft room with a bunch of other adults, or how are you going to handle that?
I think it'll be kind of one of those
like hallway.
One of those internal like.
I just need a minute. Yeah, and then you're just gonna
but you probably should. Yeah, right. You probably should follow me with the camera though, because I'll probably be losing my mind.
Yeah, it'll be a good meme.
Oh yeah, it could be. That's great.
It'll be a good meme.
Yeah, I love that. So that's where I'm at. You're gonna hear me talk about Jayden Daniels until the draft, and we're gonna be following kind of all the ups and downs along with that. But we're not gonna get to see him at the combine, but there's plenty of other guys that we keep an eye on, and for all we know, like several analysts have predicted that the Raiders could go D-line and not go anywhere near a quarterback. The Chiefs could go offensive line and handle wide receiver in the second round. You never know what we're going to get. Yep. So you had your sleeper in the draft. You want me to play the clip first? Do you want to introduce?
Play the clip
of the combine. So here we go.
An increasingly important part.
Crush each other. I wonder if he knows it's up top. This time, good throw. And that's the first catch of the night.
They didn't need that. McCord. Down the middle. Got it to the tight end. Breaking tackle.
Looking Ohio State offense today. McCord to throw. Stover has.
There he is, Cade Stover.
Cade Stover. It's funny. I initially thought his name was Chad. He looked like a Chad, but he is a Cade.
I can see that.
Yeah. So Stover came to Ohio State as an outside linebacker, switched to the tight end position 2022. He had 2022. He didn't play much in 2022 at tight end. But last year he had 2022 he did. 2023, obviously this past season the stats are pretty similar. The dude's big. He's 6'4", 250. He had 41 receptions, 575 yards, and 5 touchdowns. He was on a very Ohio State had a very good offensive team. Obviously, we had Marvin Harrison Jr., the running back Hendrickson, and then they had a couple other receivers there that I think are actually staying instead of going to the draft. That were going to be projected, first, second day picks in and of themselves. But I think obviously you got Brock Bowers, you got Sanders out there in Texas, and then there's a lot of openness on who that third tight end could be that comes off the board next. I think Stover, if he has himself a very good combine, his vert's good, his bench is good, his obviously the 40 times what people care about the most. I think he could be a very solid pickup, not necessarily the Chiefs, but he's got the build of Travis Kelce-esque, and he's still developing into the position. So I think he could long term. We have technical difficulties. We have the kids breaking into the live stream again, but it's all good. So I just think Stover's got the ability to continue to grow. He's only been playing the position for a short amount of time, all things considered. He's got the athletic ability, to go from linebacker to tight end. You gotta have hands, obviously, right? So I think he can continue to be developed and be a steal, potentially late second, third round pick.
You think he's going to go that high?
I think he could. I think right now he's probably fourth or fifth round. But if you have, one of these combine studs, freaks, who actually Troy Franklin was named by the Athletic as a combine freak to watch out for.
God.
Stover, I think, could also be someone that does real well the combine and helps his draft stock.
Well, I like that. I hope he's once again not some. You said he kind of reminded you of Wes Welker. Was that the comp you had?
I mean, I wouldn't say Wes Welker, because Wes Welker is obviously a wide receiver.
Right.
Tight end. A tight end would be. I guess he reminds me a little bit of like a better, not a better, but like a Noah Gray who still just needs development. You know what I mean? I think Noah Gray, maybe like a Mike Gilski, the dude who used to be on the Dolphins. I just don't think all of his potential has been tapped yet. And I think he could continue to get better. And just like I said, a good combine can help just raise his draft stock and get him on a good squad.
Agreed. I like it. So initially I had another player that I thought was going to just blow the roof off the Colts Stadium over there. But this player opted out of all the drills, which I think is surprising and not all that smart. And here's a quick clip of my boy Malik Nabers.
DB can undercut it.
Daniels slings it, caught by Nabers. He's going to cut it back. Had a block for a moment, gets away from a tackler and down to the 26-yard line.
Daniels on first down. Gonna take a shot to the end zone, and Nabers comes up with it.
Hunter Washington on the fade throw. This is a throw they haven't hit a bunch of early this season, but they hit that exact same play in this game last year on a 4th and 3.
So Malik Nabers, LSU wide receiver, 6 foot, 200 pounds. He's fighting for the top wide receiver spot, versus Marvin Harrison Jr. and then also with Rome Odunze, because we're separating the name. He is also supposed to run a 4.4. He's explosive. He's twitchy. He's got great ball control, great hands. He has been criticized kind of like DK Metcalf that his route tree is not as defined. I thought he would have shown off in all these drills. He would have looked like a stud. He would have just terrorized the entire combine, and it would have been great. Obviously, I'm not going to argue that Marvin Harrison should be the first receiver off the board, but I think that there's a real challenge with this guy. There's never going to be, I think, another true Tyreek Hill, but I think he has some similarities. He doesn't have the same blazing speed. He's not a 4.2 guy, but just the way he breaks out of his routes, like you watched, that was 2 passes, the separation he creates. He's not a technician like Devontae Adams, but he's just a blow him up, rocky feet type receiver, and he's just a maniac. So I pray to God the Chargers don't get him. If by some freak nature you guys traded up 30 spots and got him, I'd vomit. The only time I'd be fine with Devontae Adams being traded is if we were able to land Jayden Daniels and Malik Nabers together, have like a little Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow situation. Oh, could you imagine? Anyways, that's another dream world. But I'm just really bummed he's not going to be participating. I think he's not, like, if you're comfortable being the second receiver off the board, that's fantastic. But if you really want to be that number one, I would go out and show out, because I don't believe Marvin Harrison's going to be doing anything either.
I don't think he's even doing anything on his pro day.
Are you serious?
No.
Marvin Harrison's not?
No. I think that's what I read somewhere.
This is getting the withholding from the events. Like, none of these top guys are going to the bowl games anymore. They're not going to the Senior Bowl. They're definitely not doing the East-West Shrine Bowl. Now they're opting out of the Combine. I saw 6 head coaches are not going to the Combine because they don't like being bothered by media people looking for jobs, or, want to be scouts or want to be assistant coaches or want to be coordinators. They just get mobbed everywhere they go. The city's small. I don't know how I feel about that. I think it's one of the NFL's prime off-season events. I look forward to watching it every year. You and I, this is part of our deal. So I don't know, with these guys just not showing up, it's a little off-putting. Like Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, a couple other head coaches just won't be there because they think they could just watch these guys on tape. And I get that, but I think there's something said to being in the room with these guys,
1,000%.
shaking their hand, kind of having a conversation with them. That's not
a lot by handshake.
I agree. And body language and all that, like you can watch, obviously we just watched a bunch of guys, highlights here, but you want to get to know the person. And I mean, you'll have they'll have their visits prior to the draft. I mean, what do they opt out of those next? They get an invite from the Chiefs and they say, no, I'm not going to come out.
Yeah,
you're not going to draft me because you have the 32nd picks. You're not going to draft me. I just think it's wild. But I'm going to be tuned in. I'm pretty excited to watch the guys that are there to compete. I was listening to, this is another name I'm going to butcher. Lua Laitu, the defensive end.
UCLA.
Yeah. He was just talking today how he's going to participate in all the drills. He idolizes Max Crosby. We're likely not going DN, but just you can tell like in his voice how innocent, or you're not innocent, but like hungry he is and humble. He's humble. He's not innocent.
Hungry and humble. It's a good combo.
There we go. So that's our combine preview. Coach and I are amped. I hope you guys are excited. Once again, Raiding the Kingdom hoodies. The link is in the description from our boy at DC4L Customs T. Hit him up. And if you're buying any tickets in the near future, hit up SeatGeek. $20 off your order, promo code RTK. Our underdog code is going to come back when the football season comes back, because I'm not doing any NFL betting right now, and no one is, and it's very sad, but that's just the way it is.
Yeah. I'd like to throw out there, too, anybody who listens and then wants to comment on people they think will have a great combine or someone they're looking forward to, one of their favorite college teams. Mr. Davison was a huge Jason Bean fan. See what he does. But, just put it in the comments, and we can talk about it next time.
For sure. And we'll be bringing you some more episodes as, that was early. We'll be giving you a post-combine episode. And, we were kind of hoping that this Justin Fields news was going to break mid-episode. It did not. So maybe that's going to be later tonight, tomorrow, who knows. And here we go. Wait, is this a credible source? Hold on. CJ Golson. Per source, Chicago Bears Justin Fields is going to be traded to the Atlanta Falcons ahead of the 2024 NFL Draft. Sources confirmed that the deal is done. Fields is excited for an opportunity to be part of a talented offense for the first time. I don't believe this is legitimate. Just because that last line, for the first time. And then there's an edit of Justin Fields. This is not a CJ Golson is a college football guy, but it's not a Adam Schefter credible tweet. So they're just trying to get ahead of the news that is possibly inevitable, but I don't know if I'd call it that quite yet. So that's not going to be live on our show tonight, but we'll probably have another show if that's something that does happen, because that's going to affect the rest of the draft order.
Yeah, we'll do an emergency episode if it ends up being the Raiders.
And I'll cry and cry and cry, not for any
vomit live on camera.
There we go, which I promised to do already because you guys won the Super Bowl.
I'm going to hold you to it.
Wonderful. All right, we'll catch you guys post combine or Justin Fields emergency episode. Peace out.
Go Chiefs.
Go Raiders. Can't end on that note.